It was the early hours of Easter weekend in 2015, a time when most Londoners were fast asleep, enjoying their holiday break, completely unaware that something extraordinary was about to unfold in the heart of the city. Deep in the financial district, a group of elderly men were preparing for a heist that would stun the world and go down in history as one of the most audacious and meticulously planned burglaries in British history. This is the story of the Hatton Garden Heist, brought to you by the Midnight Dark, and if you enjoy true crime stories like this, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe right now so you don't miss any of our thrilling content. The story begins with a building that most people walk past without ever noticing. Hatton Garden, a historic jewelry district in central London, home to hundreds of safe deposit boxes filled with millions of pounds worth of jewelry, gold, and cash. It was a quiet area, almost sleepy during the weekends, and that is exactly what made it the perfect target. The thieves weren't young, flashy criminals with fast cars or high-tech gadgets. No, these were men in their 60s and 70s, retired engineers, former criminals, and professionals who had spent years studying the art of burglary, patience, and precision. They had one goal: to enter the Hatton Garden Safe Deposit Company and walk away with a fortune. The plan was simple yet daring. The men had studied the building for months, observing the routines of the staff, noting the security systems, the timing of the patrols, and every small weakness that could give them an advantage. They knew that the vault was built like a fortress. Its walls were 3 feet thick, reinforced with concrete, and the door was a massive steel monster that weighed several tons. But instead of trying to pick the locks or trigger alarms in a traditional break-in, the gang opted for a more mechanical approach. They brought industrial-grade tools, drills, and even borrowed a piece of construction equipment to tackle the vault from above. Every move was calculated, every step carefully rehearsed. On the night of the heist, the men arrived at Hatton Garden dressed in casual clothing to avoid suspicion. They carried black toolboxes that concealed their heavy equipment. Timing was critical, and they knew the weekend would give them the luxury of minimal human interference. Once inside, the team set to work with astonishing precision. The noise from the drilling was deafening, but they had accounted for every detail. Security systems were monitored, cameras were avoided, and the alarms were somehow bypassed. Though investigators would later be baffled at how the gang remained undetected for so long. Outside, London slept, oblivious to the crime unfolding just blocks away from the bustling streets. It took several hours to breach the vault walls, but by the early morning, the gang had gained access to hundreds of safe deposit boxes. What they found inside was mind-blowing: sparkling diamonds, gold bars, rare watches, and cash worth an estimated £14 million. Unlike impulsive criminals, these men were meticulous. They had brought sacks and containers, carefully sorting and packing the loot to ensure maximum efficiency. One misstep could have led to their capture, but they worked like a well-oiled machine, moving quickly and methodically. The Hatton Garden Heist wasn't just about stealing money. It was about executing a flawless plan that even seasoned detectives would struggle to comprehend. As news of the robbery broke, the UK and international media were stunned. How could a group of elderly men pull off a heist of this scale in the heart of London? The story captivated the public imagination, and soon everyone was talking about the old men gang who outsmarted law enforcement. The police launched a massive investigation, but the thieves had left almost no trace. No fingerprints, no clear video evidence, and no immediate suspects. It was a perfect crime in many ways, and the audacity of elderly men successfully executing such a high-profile robbery made headlines worldwide. Yet, as with many great heists, the story doesn't end there. Despite their careful planning, mistakes were made. The gang's underestimation of modern forensic techniques and the persistence of detectives would soon catch up with them. A few weeks after the heist, authorities started connecting dots. Informants, financial transactions, and even old habits came into play. Slowly but surely, the investigators pieced together the identities of the men involved. By the end of the investigation, most of the gang members were arrested, and some would face decades in prison. But not before their legend had cemented itself into criminal folklore. What made the Hatton Garden Heist particularly fascinating wasn't just the money. It was the combination of age, experience, and sheer nerve. These were men who had lived through wars, economic downturns, and decades of ordinary life, suddenly stepping into a world of high-stakes crime with perfect timing. Their story challenged stereotypes of what criminals should be and showed the world that sometimes brilliance and audacity come with age. Documentaries, news articles, and even dramatizations have attempted to capture the scope of the heist, but the reality is often more incredible than fiction. For the viewers watching this on the midnight dark, imagine yourself walking through Hatton Garden during that Easter weekend. Everything appears calm, serene, and ordinary, yet just above your head, men are drilling through walls, moving tons of steel, and making history. The tension, the patience, and the careful planning are almost cinematic in themselves, and that's what makes this story so gripping. Every second of their operation was a masterclass in precision, and even now, years later, it continues to fascinate audiences around the globe. As we reflect on the heist, it also serves as a reminder of human ingenuity and the lengths some will go to achieve their goals. Whether you view the gang as criminals or clever masterminds, there is no denying the skill, patience, and audacity involved. This story has lessons for law enforcement, historians, and curious minds alike, highlighting how even the most secure places can be vulnerable if someone is smart and patient enough. So if you've enjoyed this incredible true story of the Hatton Garden Heist, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to The Midnight Dark for more amazing documentaries, and turn on notifications so you never miss another thrilling tale. Let us know in the comments what you think about this audacious robbery. Could you imagine planning a heist like that? Or do you think the police were simply lucky to catch them in the end? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to share this video with friends who love real-life crime stories. Stories like the Hatton Garden Heist prove that truth can sometimes be stranger than fiction. And here at the Midnight Dark, we bring these stories to life for curious minds everywhere.